Welcome back, my friends, and thank you very much to everyone who has subscribed. We now are over 200 subscribers, so thank you very much, and I appreciate every one of you who pay attention to my channel. So thank you, and I hope you'll enjoy what I have for you today. This is the quintessential book on magic. Aleister Crowley's Magic, Book 4, Parts 1 through 4. So, here's the deal. Now, I don't remember how I even came across Aleister Crowley. I mean, perhaps it was the song by Black Sabbath, Mr. Crowley, and then I did some research. I don't know how I discovered Crowley. I don't even remember. It seems like I always knew about Crowley somehow. So, years ago, I went into an occult bookstore, and this book and basically all of Aleister Crowley's books were for sale used, and I bought a used version of this book. When I lived in a house that was exceptionally haunted, I had to get rid of all my occult stuff, thinking that somehow the energy was attached to the book. We couldn't figure it out, so I ended up getting rid of it because at the time we did have a small child living in the house, and it was some of the things happening were very supernatural in nature. So I definitely didn't want to take any risks, but I'm so glad that I got it back because let me just take the cover off. Aleister Crowley is really responsible for making magic what it is today. I really attribute his publishing of all the occult works to be why we even have literature on the occult. It was him and his colleagues that made it a point to publish this ancient knowledge, and really this book is a complete course in magic. And I love the symbol, the blue print. I'm not sure why there's these white spots on the back of it, but the other book I had, I remember it had white too, so I don't know if it's a blemish from the company where they dyed the book or what. But little research, or I guess you could say history about Aleister Crowley. Crowley is one of the most understood, most misunderstood authors in the occult, and also one of the most influential. So a perfect example of that, in this book, there's a quote in regards to sacrifice. And Crowley says, above all, the most powerful sacrifice is the sacrifice of an uncircumcised male child. But he goes on to say that the best sacrifice above that is the magician himself. So magicians can use their own blood as a sacrifice, and it's just as powerful. Obviously, you know that I don't condone or promote anything to do with that style of magic. It's not my place to judge it, but if there are people out there doing rituals that involve murder, hey, more power to you, but it's not my thing. Anyway, so, Crowley became infamous. He became infamous in England for any number of things. He was in the newspapers and everything. They called him the wickedest man in the world, and a lot of it had to do with just his outlandish behavior. There were so many rumors around him and what he was trying to accomplish. It's a very long story, but anyway, I love this book, and I'm just going to read to you. And it reminds me of another quote that's always misquoted. So I'm sure if you're into magic, you've heard the term, love is the law, love under will. There is no law but the law of will. So the whole thing is Do what thou wilt, which is the quote that people always quote Crowley about. Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. There is no law above do what thou wilt. Love is the law. Love under will. That is the complete quote. The problem you have is anytime someone quotes that quote of Crowley, they just say, do what thou wilt. Well, that wasn't what he was trying to say. What he was trying to say is the only law you have is the law of will. Your will is the only governing force that's going to drive you in the end. Love is the law, meaning every single action that you take in life, if it is born out of love, then it is a just action. Love is the law. Love under will, meaning here's will, here's love. It supports will. If your will is backed by love, then there are no rules, there are no regulations. There is only one rule, the rule of love. Now, I'm probably one of the first people you'll hear interpret it that way, but this is just an example of why people are so confused about this man and his quotes and what he was trying to achieve. He did not hate Christianity, he hated Christians. Very similar to the way Nietzsche felt, and even myself to a certain degree. So, I'm going to read you this beautiful introductory poem that's in the first of the book. It's very inspirational and it really resonates with me. If I can find it. I mean, if you buy this book, it's not cheap. It's around $70 on Amazon. But it's worth every penny because this is a historical work and it's just so full of information and occult philosophy that you can't really deny this is the quintessential book on magic. If you're interested in magic, traditional ceremonial magic, you've got to own this book. So, you know, I do rituals like the Star Ruby. I've yet to do some of the more complex rituals like the Mark of the Beast ritual and stuff like that because I don't feel that I'm at the level yet to be doing such rituals because they are very intense. Okay, here it is. There are 7 keys to the great gate, being 8 in 1 and 1 in 8. First, let the body there be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid, thus thou mayest abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next, let the breath be rhythm, be love, be low, easy, regular, and slow. So what he's saying is, in this brief little poem, the secrets of magic are installed into this poem. So when he says, let the breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow, he's referring to meditation. So that thy being be in tune with the great sea's pacific swoon, like the ocean current slowly coming back and forth. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, swayed softly as the windless palm. Don't let yourself put energy into things you don't need to put energy into. Fourth, let the will to live be bound by the one love of the profound. Magical philosophy. Fifth, let the thought, divinely free from sense, observe its entity. You can ponder that one for a while. Watch every thought that springs enhance, hour after hour, thy vigilance. When you're meditating, you have to control your thoughts. intense and keen, turned inward, miss not an atom of analysis. Keep track of your magic. 6. In one thought, securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind. Again, silence the thoughts. Be like a flame, straight and unstirred. Burn up thy being in every word. Next, still that ecstasy, prolong thy meditation steep and strong, slaying even God, should he distract thy attention from the chosen act. Last, all these things in one o'erpowered, time that the midnight blossom flowered. The oneness is, yet even in this, my son, thou shalt not do amiss. Be consistent in your magic. That's what he's saying. If thou retain the expression, shoot the glance of rapture's darkling root, discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of the highest, or of the high consciousness, of this high consciousness. Pierce to the heart. I leave thee here. Thou art the master I revere. Thy radiance that rolls afar, O brother of the silver star. That's just one very amazing tidbit in this book. I mean, the way the book flows, it takes you right through practical magic into the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. There's not a whole lot he doesn't cover. His Book of the Law is part of this book. It actually has copies of the original book in his actual writing. Ironically, he writes very strangely. His penmanship was very akin to what kind of mine is. It's almost like its own language. You have to, you can barely read it, but I love it. On another Crowley note, I may have mentioned before, it's not something I talk about a lot, but it's something that's always had an effect on me is, I've had 2 people that knew nothing about me tell me that I was the reincarnation of Aleister Crowley, or someone that was like him. And I think that black magic, sorcerer, being a just overall name for the channel is perfect, because really at the end of the day, it's all about magic in general. It's not about being a part of a group or part of a cult. It's about obtaining knowledge, and the knowledge that comes from diving deep within yourself. So, magic in itself is a totally different thing. Magic spelled with I-C-K. It's very different from Wicca and Satanism and all of that. It really has almost nothing to do with it. I dare say that Satanists and Wiccans probably piggyback off of a lot of Crowley's material, but that remains to be seen. So, what was I going to say? So anyway, when someone tells you something like that, it was Demonic Angel that told me, yeah, you were in your past life like a secret society monk, and you looked like Crowley. So that made me think, well, maybe that's what these 2 other people were observing, was that I looked like him with the shaved head, etc. And I just want to say, if someone tells you that you were a famous person in your past life, you should take it with a grain of salt, but at the same time, there's so many things that I have in common with Crowley. My love for pipes. I don't even smoke pipes, but I collect them, and I love them. I have a calabash because Crowley always smoked an S pipe, which is a pipe that you smoke tobacco out of that kind of has a crook in the stem. If you see Crowley's pictures, he's almost always depicted with a pipe. It is the philosopher's thing. It's one of those items that really accompanies the thoughts of the intellectual. So I love Crowley. I don't care what anyone thinks about him. He had one hell of an upbringing as being raised by the Plymouth Brethren, which were a group of Christians who were basically involved in the literal translation of the Bible. I find Crowley's story very inspirational just because it goes to show you when you are brought up and the only book you have, like I was talking about the Bible last time, Crowley only had the Bible until he was a teenager. And then when he started finding out about other knowledge, he devoured it because he was deprived of that knowledge, of any other knowledge but that book. So you could imagine what it would be like to basically be forced to memorize this book with no other context and no other books, then suddenly be given a library. And you can imagine the esoteric books that Crowley probably had. If you read his books, his list of books that he recommends you read, they're more books than you can count. So anyway, I realize it's a big investment, but if you're truly into magic and studying the subject of magic and you want to get a good overview of magic, and I'm not talking about Wicca, I'm not talking about hoodoo, voodoo, or any other related branches on the tree of magic, this is something exclusive to ceremonial magic. It is complicated. It does require a lot to do these rituals, but the best part of this book is Crowley's explanations of meditation. Meditation for Crowley was huge. His 8 lectures on yoga is an astounding work. I would love to have them, but they stopped printing a lot of his books. Oh, here we go. I actually think I look a lot like him in this photo. I've always wanted to take a picture with my altar and me in my robe, but I don't have a serpent crown. I tried to fashion a wand that looked like his one time, but I couldn't get the crystal to adhere to it. Anyway, dark blessings, my friends. Check out Aleister Crowley's book 4. Check out all of Crowley's work. If you go on Amazon, I've got a lot of the collected works that are compilation books. I'm going to be going through each one of them. This will be part 1 of the Aleister Crowley book series and give you a good glance at what Crowley does. So anyway, thank you for your subscriptions. Thank you for your support. I love you guys. Dark blessings.